Welcome to the show. Today we are honored to have with us Colonel Jon Ker, who is a retired Green Beret attorney and decorated war veteran, and it is a delight to get to spend some time with you, John.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here very much.
Well, of course, we're getting ready for a big Christmas holiday, and we have spent the whole month of November, which as we should, honoring our veterans. And I'm just want to carry that on into the Christmas season as
Okay.
well, because what you have done really is worth having everybody know and hear your story. I'm just glad that we can do this. So let's dive into your military
Sure.
career. What inspired a young Jon Ker to go into the military, first of all, and then to become a Green Beret? I understand maybe a movie had something to
Actually,
do with it.
it was the song.
Oh yeah,
The song was
Ballad of
popular.
the Green
Ballad of the Green
Berets.
Beret, Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler.
Yes, I remember
I
that
was
song.
a student at East Texas State University in Commerce,
Uh-huh.
wasting my time and my parents' money. And that song came out, and a high school classmate of mine said, "Hey, we need to join the Army and do that." Well, I did. He didn't. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to the Army and be a Green Beret.
Okay, well, I mean, music can move people
It can.
to do things. Well, so you joined in 1967,
Yes.
went through jump school, OCS, and then volunteered for the Special Forces. Let's
Yes.
talk about that whole
Okay.
progress, that journey.
When I was in officer candidate school, there was no assurances that I would be selected. In fact, the class that graduated the week before my class did, no one was selected for Special Forces. So I was kind of anxious about that. But out of my class, 8 of us were selected to go to training to see if we would qualify. The training for an officer is different from that of an enlisted man because, say, for instance, if you were the commo sergeant on a special forces team, you spend about 8, 9 months just learning code and functioning radios. Well, an officer has to have a smattering of everything, a little bit of everything,
Sure.
but they focus on the focus is on leadership as a special forces officer. So my training was about a year, and then I went to Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you arrived there in 69, you say. What was your mission there?
Special Forces has 3 different basic missions. One of them is in Vietnam was counterinsurgency, and that's where you will know about the A camps along the Laotian and Cambodian border. I was at Dak Siang, Dakseang, and that was just north of the tri-border area between Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. So we in the Special Forces camps would train indigenous people to fight, and we'd lead them in out into operations to interdict the Ho Chi Minh Trail. A second mission of Special Forces was the long-range reconnaissance patrols, and some of that, somebody might know that as Special Operations Group or Command and Control, SOG. Those guys would go long-range reconnaissance into Laos, Vietnam, and sometimes even into North Vietnam. But that was a separate thing. And then the third avenue was direct action, and that encompassed both hit teams, but it also encompassed what we called the Mike Force, which was the reactionary group that if a camp came under siege, as in Ben Het, which is the camp just south of Dak Siang, the Mike Force would go in to try to relieve the pressure of a siege that was ongoing.
So you were training these indigenous folk
Yes.
who were on board with what the Americans were doing,
Yes.
which is, yeah. And so were the relationships developed? I mean, tell me a little bit about that whole.
Absolutely. In Vietnam, there was the indigenous mountain tribes. Think of those like the Native Americans, the Indians during the 1800s. But then you had the Vietnamese, which were more Chinese, that Oriental type. A montagnard, the French word is montagnard, and of course Americans are going to
Butcher it.
butcher it completely. So
Yeah.
we've wound up just calling them the yards, but they were tribal people of Mayo-Polynesian descent,
Interesting.
but they were excellent soldiers. And we had a special forces team of about 10 people when I got there and a Vietnamese special forces team. And we worked together to train the yards, go out and fight the enemy.
Yeah. Any people you keep in contact with over the
I
years?
do indeed. In fact, the fellow that the very first day in the Army, he was my bunkmate at the reception station. And his name is Charles Beasley, lives in Morehead City, North Carolina. He and I, it was as though we were joined at the IBM card because everywhere I went, he went. Basic training, advanced training, jump school, officer candidate school. We were on the same plane going to Vietnam, on the same plane coming back.
Yeah.
So he and I stay in very close contact.
Oh, that is neat. Well, you mentioned Ben Het. You were sent there, and it came under siege by a couple of the North Vietnamese
Yes.
regiments.
Ben Het came under siege in about late February of 1969. I happened to have been on radio watch at Dak Siang the night that the Russian tanks, PT-76 tanks, there were 5 of them that came to attack the camp. 2 of them were knocked out, and the other 3 went back home. But that siege lasted until June, and I was sent down there in, I want to say it was late April, early May. I can't, dates fall out of my head these days. But
That was a long time ago.
that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday.
I know,
though,
but
promise you.
and your recall is amazing.
But Ben Het was attacked by 2 North Vietnamese Army infantry regiments. That's about 5,000 men.
Oh my goodness.
And it was also a regiment of artillery. Now, they were up on the hills close to the Cambodian border, but they were pounding the camp and everything around it. So it was terrible. It was terrible.
You said you were blown out of a helicopter
I was.
during an attack.
Uh,
So what do you remember
when I-
vividly about that?
when I was alerted to go, that I was going to be going to Ben Het, I was made the assistant S3. S3 is operations. You plan operations. Well, I wasn't planning anything. I was a lieutenant. I was expendable. So I was first sent to Firebase 6, which was a battery of American 155 howitzers, and I was in charge of perimeter security. And we came under attack a couple of times. But then they sent me into Ben Het, and the helicopter I was on, in Special Forces, you have A teams, B teams, and C teams. The B team is the first staff level, where it's commanded by a lieutenant colonel, and there's staff officers planning things. Well, on this helicopter, Lieutenant Colonel Marquis, who was the B detachment commander, was sitting in the middle. I was in the right door, and the S3 captain, whose name, frankly, I can't remember anymore, he was sitting left door. And as the helicopter was about to land, I would say it's probably a couple of feet off the ground.
Very close.
Very close. An artillery round exploded just to about the 10, if you're looking straight ahead, that's 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
and it was within about 5 meters of where the helicopter was about to land. It almost hit us. But it wounded the pilot and it wounded the captain and blew me out the right door. So, but I didn't get any shrapnel wounds, but I sure hit the ground
I was
hard.
going to say you were sore after that.
I was pretty sore.
Oh my word!
I still had trouble with my right knee, which was
gonna
the first
say.
point of contact, and I just had surgery on my back. But I think I attributed a lot to that injury.
Really, yeah, no doubt. So ambushes were a constant threat.
Very much, very much. In fact, when I was coming out of Ben Het, they'd closed the camp to aircraft, both helicopter and fixed wing. So the only way to come out was by armored personnel carriers. It was the only day I felt I was going to die in Vietnam, because we got into an ambush, and it was a far ambush, meaning it wasn't like as close as I am to you, which sometimes that occurred too. But this was the enemy was in a V following a tree line, and as we came into the kill zone, frankly, all hell broke loose. And a couple of Cobra gunships, I attribute those guys to saving my life because we were in a bad situation. I carried what's called a Car 15. It's kind of like an M4 today, a small, very, very fast shooter. And I carried 10 magazines, 20-round magazines. And by the time we got through the kill zone, I didn't have anything left.
Used it all.
It was pretty nasty.
Pretty intense. So the Cobra helicopters came over the horizon, and
They did.
that was a pretty blessed sight, I guess.
If you ever seen the movie Uncommon Valor,
Uh-huh.
in that movie you see these helicopters come over the hill. Well, I was watching that movie with my wife, and I started crying.
I bet you did. Oh, you saw, yeah, it's. I'm just so blessed that you're willing to talk about this. There's so many. My parents' generation after World War II, they just couldn't bring themselves to talk.
Neither did my
about it.
dad.
They couldn't bring themselves to talk about it. So you returned home in 1970 to a
Thank
daughter who
Lord.
had gone from a baby to a toddler, and I don't think a lot of us think about the sacrifice that you make from your family standpoint.
I got to see my daughter Robin when she was firstborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me in to watch the birth.
Yeah, that was the old days.
Back then, that was the old.
That
days.
was right.
But when I came home, she was already a little over a year, and my wife asked her, "Well, where's Daddy?" And she pointed to my picture.
Your picture, because she'd shown her that.
Yeah,
Well,
didn't make the connection.
yeah, but that all happened. So, so what was that homecoming like?
It was wonderful. There is some time it takes to transition from combat to no combat.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I didn't have any shoes. I'm sorry about hitting.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
I didn't have any shoes when I got home. I had army boots,
Your army boots,
my
yeah.
jungle boots,
Yeah.
and so we went. My wife and stayed with her mother in Lake Highlands in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to North Park Mall to get me some shoes. And as we're coming out of North Park Mall, do you remember the old Schlitz had the kegs? And I don't remember what they call them, but
I remember the sign.
Yes.
The big sign.
well, some aluminum keg that was empty fell off of the truck. And I promise you, it sounded just like a mortar round going off.
Yeah.
So here I am exiting North Park Mall. I'm on the ground saying, incoming. And everybody's
Did you
walking
really?
by. Yes.
Oh, bless your heart.
People walking by me thinking I'd lost my mind.
Well, and sadly, our Vietnam veterans, when they returned home, they were not received as the heroes they are.
I can't say that it was a friend of mine, but it was a fellow Special Forces soldier that came home, and somebody went up to him at the airport, called him a baby killer, and shot him in the belly. Yeah. Now, he lived, but that's the kind of attitude that was going on at the time, that while we were there doing what we saw as our duty to defend the Constitution and our way of life, those who were being protected felt obligated to try to eliminate those that were doing the protection. It was terrible.
You stayed in the reserves, though, for years.
I did. I left the active duty in April of 71, went to Texas Tech to go to school.
Yeah.
I had not graduated from East Texas. In fact, I only lasted 3 semesters. But at Tech, they had 2 Special Forces teams reserves. So I took command of one of them and spent my time at Tech with them, and then stayed in the reserves until they booted me out.
Well, and that's good. I mean, it was a calling of yours,
It was.
obviously.
It was. In the military, for officers particularly, there's a thing called the mandatory removal date. So if you don't get promoted, your mandatory removal date comes in and you get put out. Well, they'd made a mistake on my records, and so I never said anything to them.
Oh.
So I was supposed to have been retired in 1998, but I didn't have to retire until 2006. 'cause-
Okay. Well, and because that kind of brings us to 9/11.
Yes.
So much more I want to talk to you about that.
Okay.
The whole segment, we need to take a break.
Okay,
So
all right.
I want to tell you, we are going to take a break, and today's show is brought to you by Gather & Co. Kitchens and Bath, where they are transforming houses into homes. Stay with us. More of the show is ahead.
Lights of West offers a mile-long trail of twinkling Christmas lights that you can drive through in your own vehicle or in an open-air trailer. Families create Christmas magic along the many other attractions, such as pictures with the 20-foot Santa and snowman, or even the live Santa on special weekends. Live music under the pavilion will be featured on select weekends as well. There will be concessions, a light maze, and letters to Santa that will be sure to keep your kids entertained. The park will be opened nightly from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. until December 30th. You can join Waco Pack on December 28th to ring in the new year with Indivisible Waco's 2026 kickoff party. Celebrate progress, purpose, and the people shaping tomorrow with music, dancing, drinks, and good company. Toast to the wins, release the rest, and get energized for 2026 and what's ahead with the Performing Arts Community Center here in Waco. I'm Elizabeth Riley with Act Locally Waco, and I will see you next time.
And we are back with Jon Ker, and he is telling me about his military exploits. Vietnam, we've gotten through that. Now we're at 9/11, that date that everything changed in this country, and you went back to full-time service.
I did. The day of 9/11, 2001, I was in command of of all things, a signal battalion in Albuquerque, New Mexico, of reservists. And I had sent several of my NCOs, non-commissioned officers, to Fort Gordon, Georgia, which is the signal school, because they were going to use them as instructors. So trying to be the good commander I think I should be, I make a command inspection to make sure that my people are being treated right and they're getting properly employed. Well, that happened to be September 11th of 2001.
Really?
My wife went with me because we drove out there to kind of like a nice
Just a little
vacation
Yeah, a
kind
little
of thing.
yeah, work and pleasure. Yeah.
We were staying at a very nice bed and breakfast.
Uh-huh.
And then that happens, and I'm watching these planes go into these buildings. So I try to call my wife and tell her something's up. She said, nobody can get on or off the base. So I'm here at the bed and breakfast, and I'm staying here till you get here. They completely shut down the base.
Everything was shut down, yeah.
So the commander of the unit that was there instructing, that I'd plussed my people up for, he couldn't get on the base. So I had to take command of that battalion for about 3 days.
Yeah.
But once I got off where you could get on and off the base, I got my wife. You couldn't fly. We were... you know what? I told you wrong. We didn't drive out there. We flew out there.
Okay.
So I had to rent a car to come back.
To get back.
Because she told me in no uncertain terms, I'm not waiting till we can fly. I'm going home.
Well, yeah, I mean, the air service was just
Gone.
totally
Yeah.
messed up, yeah.
So we drove back home, and
Yeah.
I told her on the way, I'm going to go to war again. And so
You knew.
I
that
knew.
It was, right.
I knew.
Well, so you get to Baghdad. Tell me about that.
that was an interesting thing. Can I tell you the lead up to
Sure,
it?
yeah, please.
When I went back on active duty, I called Fort Bragg and I said, look, I want to go with you. They said, well, come on. So I had orders to go back onto active duty, and I got sent to Al Jaffer, Jordan, which I felt like I was on the surface of the moon because there was no grass, nothing out there. It was just
barren
rock. And then we launched into Baghdad, and of course there was no water, no power, everything was gone. And I was made the Special Forces liaison to the commanding general, General Sanchez. You need to understand, I'm going to educate your people on one thing. When you talk in terms of special forces, that only means U.S. Army Green Beret. If you say special operations forces, that's everybody else. Rangers, SEALs,
Yeah, Navy
Air
SEALs,
Force,
yeah.
pararescue,
Okay.
all those. So at Baghdad, we had what was called the Joint Special Operations Task Force. And so all special operations, including special forces, was under the command of Colonel Pagan, who was Green Beret.
Mm-hmm.
I got tasked to go be the liaison between Colonel Pagan and General Sanchez,
Okay.
which was a great job because I got to go all over
Yeah.
Iraq.
Yeah.
You know? When I made my first foray into Baghdad, we took some fire from insurgents, but it wasn't near as bad as Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we it was interesting. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, so your peers called you the old soldier.
They did.
They wouldn't let you go out with the A-team anymore.
They wouldn't let me go out with the A-team. Of course, when I got to the headquarters in Al Jaffer, I went to the deputy commander of the group. At that time, he was a lieutenant colonel, and his name was, I can't remember that either, but he retired as lieutenant general too. But I told him I wanted to go out to an A-team. He says, no. He's the one that said, oh, so you're the old soldier.
You're the old soldier.
I was 56 years old.
I wondered how old you
I
were.
was 56. I've remained in pretty good shape.
I was going to say, that's pretty young.
It is pretty young,
That to us now.
especially now.
Especially now.
But
Yeah.
that kind of stuck with everybody, you know. So I was always the old soldier, and he said, "No, you're not going to an A-team. You're going to go to the General Sanchez."
Yeah.
which was a great job too.
Yeah, so this was a shift from combat then to intelligence,
Yes,
and coordination.
I got to work on capturing Saddam Hussein.
Well, tell me about that.
There was a team of various people that when we would get intelligence from outside, and I'll explain that in a second, we would analyze that intelligence, try to determine what was good, what was not.
Sure.
And so we would work that intelligence to find and figure out where is this guy, and several other high-value targets as well. One of the things that we did, and this is not classified anymore, but the Jordanians were working with us. And one of the things that we did with the Jordanians, we'd put them into prison with the bad guys, and they would talk, and we'd get a lot of good intel out of that. Mm-hmm. Well, the night that we captured Saddam Hussein, I was in Jordan briefing the Jordanian High Command for Intelligence. And that I knew it was about to happen. I couldn't tell him when it was because I didn't know.
Right.
But when I got back, one of the guys that was with me in my liaison team had driven Saddam's car, his little taxi, back to our safe house. And of course, the CIA had gone through it, but I got to go through it too. And there's papers in there. Mm-hmm. And I tell everybody, it could be his laundry receipt, but I got it.
Wow. So what was that moment like when you heard that he had been, he was in what, in the hidey hole? What did we call it?
It was in a hidey hole,
yeah,
yes. It was elation, as you can well imagine. Mm-hmm. But the fact that we had captured him and he had been so evil to that country, it was as though God had shined a light down and said, You did good, boys.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. So this elation you felt personally, but also you saw it in other people. What was that
So
like?
the people in Iraq were far more elated than I was.
Oh, I remember when the statue came down and they were using their shoes to
Yes.
because that
Yes.
meant bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
For nights, the people in Baghdad, everybody had an AK-47. All the Iraqis. They would shoot those up in the air, and you'd see tracers going up, and you'd think, these people are really happy.
I know, but you could really hurt people
Bullets that
doing
go
that.
up, come
They
back
are
down.
going to come back too. Oh man, but that's just got to be such a rewarding experience
It
to be a
was.
part of that history.
It was.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that you think, God put me in a place where I can do something of really important, lasting effect. So that can overwhelm you at times, like it's doing now.
That's okay. That's okay. I love it. So, served 2 wars, retired in '06. As you look back on your service, just your thoughts.
I knew I was doing the right thing at 19 when I joined. For all my young years up to that, I'd always looked up to my dad as having been in World War II.
Right. Where did he serve?
He served in Italy with the 36th Division.
my
He
goodness.
was an officer in the National Guard here in Waco. And when it was called to active duty, he became a company commander and landed at Paestum, which is just south of Salerno. He got wounded. He never talked much about
Right,
it.
right.
But I always looked up to him for that fact. And so I wanted to do something like him, but better than him. And so,
Well, that's
yeah.
a typical thing. You say you joined the Army, though, out of a sense of duty and love for this country.
Amen.
Let's just go ahead and talk about it.
Okay.
Videotape that came out where some people are telling the Army or telling people in the military, you don't need to pay attention to your orders if they're illegal.
Did you notice one thing very interesting about that video? They never gave an example of what was an illegal order. Now, if you, Ann, told me, you're my commanding officer, and you tell me, okay, John, I want you to go over here and assassinate this person. Show me the orders from your higher that I can do that. Or if they say, go over here and attack this orphanage, clearly illegal.
Right.
But they don't give you any example in there of what is being illegal. So it leaves wide open in the mind of the hearer, oh, I'm not supposed to follow. I can reject. So if I decide what's an illegal order, that may or may not be an illegal order. So the fact that they're doing that, in my opinion, violates the Uniform Code of Military Justice, because you're creating a situation where someone who is a subordinate can decide whether or not that order given is legal or illegal, and that ain't gonna
That's
fly.
chaos.
It's chaos. That's right.
I mean, there's a reason for a chain of command, and
When you take the oath to become a soldier, one of the lines in that, I will obey the lawful orders given me. Well, that somebody else has to decide what that lawful order is. So let's take one more example. Let's say that the guys that were there to capture Saddam Hussein, that someone had said, okay, I want you to go over and lift that lid so we can look down in there. And he says, oh, no, I think that's an unlawful order. Well, what kind of chaos is that going to cause, just using your own term?
Right,
man?
right.
Yeah, we follow orders because if we don't, then somebody or something is going to fail. And failure is not an option.
it's not. Well, so now you're an attorney.
Yes.
So let's talk about your legal
Okay.
career. Yeah.
All right.
So where did you go to law school? You
went
were
to
at
Texas Tech.
You were okay.
Yes.
You stayed at Tech for that.
My oldest son, when he was born, we did not know it, but he had an allergy to milk. So he was for 2 months right after he was born in the hospital under an oxygen tent.
Oh, my.
And the doctor said, move where it's dry.
Yeah.
Well, I had a brother living in Lubbock, and he told me
It's pretty dry in Lubbock.
It's dry like a bone.
Oh, my goodness.
So I decided I was going to apply to go to school at Tech, finish my undergraduate degree, and see if I can get into law school there. And
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to do so.
Yeah, so what kind of law do you practice?
I'm a general civil practitioner. I don't do criminal defense. I don't do bankruptcies. I don't do divorces. But most of my career was in employment-related litigation. In fact, in McLennan County, I was one of the earliest ones to even undertake that kind of and I had one of my cases go to the United States Supreme Court, too.
Really?
I got
Which
to argue
one?
that
Yeah, tell me.
It was...
What was that like to go to the
Oh, that
Supreme
was
Court?
absolutely fabulous.
Oh,
you know.
my word.
Yeah, because you think about, there's just very few cases that get there.
Yeah.
But my case was interesting in that it was the right issue at the right time. Wasn't anything I did particular. It's just I happened to be the guy that they said, yes, we need to take this issue
This
up.
is something we
The
need to
issue-
decide. Yeah.
The issue involved was whether or not the time limit under the Title VII anti-discrimination statute was jurisdictional, or was it more like a statute of limitations? It had been held to be jurisdictional, which means if you didn't make that time limit, the court could not hear your case.
Okay.
I argued that no, it's not jurisdictional because certain things might come up, like me as the attorney had to go to Korea for my military duties, and when I got back, the time had expired. So the Supreme Court said it's not jurisdictional, reversing several courts of appeal, and said it's more like a statute of limitations so that it can be extended. Now, the time limit at that time was 15 days. Now it's much longer than that now. But
Oh,
I was
interesting.
fortunate to get that one done.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So you're still practicing though, and
But I'm trying to retire.
trying to retire. That's what you told me. Yeah. Oh well.
I've been in that process now for about 3 years.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. Right. So, what advice would you give someone who's considering military service?
If you had asked me that question under Joe Biden, I'd say don't even think about it. The military is back into the kind of shape it should have been all along. The purpose of the military is to fight and win our nation's wars. If you lose sight of that, you become a paper tiger. So I tell kids nowadays, the military is a good place to start because it teaches you a whole variety of things. Not necessarily to stay in the military, but get that military education and the discipline that comes along with it so that you can be a good citizen whether or not you're in the military. Now, one of the other things about it is I get to sit on Congressman Sessions' Service Academy Selection Committee. I get to chair that one.
How fun!
And we just had several kids come through.
That's got to be a
wanted
tough choice, though.
It is.
I bet they're all stellar young people.
It is unbelievable
Yeah.
how these young kids are so mature, focused, and smart.
Good.
It is a joy to sit on that committee, and we see some of the cream in that.
Yeah. So how many young people go to every service academy, get someone from this district? Is that how that works, or what?
Every service academy can get one.
Okay.
The process is that someone who wants to go to the service academy can apply through the president, the vice president, the senators, the representatives.
Oh, okay. Lots of.
Lots of
avenues.
avenues. Those that choose to go through Pete's Sessions. Now, of course, remember his congressional district.
got a big district. Yeah.
He's got 3 different committees that Central is me, South, and East, and but so the kids that if they say I would like to apply for this one as their first choice, second choice, third choice, they can choose up to 5. And last year we had one that wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, but he didn't get selected by the Air Force Academy, but his second choice was the Military Academy. So we promoted him to the Military Academy, and he got picked up.
Oh, he got in. That's good. That's good. Oh, yeah. Well, to see this young generation, following in that service?
We hear a whole lot about kids, and we think the kids just don't have any common sense. They don't have any drive. They don't
They're
have any
addicted
desire.
to their phones. They're
Addicted, yeah. But these kids that we interview prove to me that America can still count on its young people, and we'll be in good hands.
Yeah. Well, I like to end these little visits with a questionnaire similar to the one the late, great James Lipton used on Inside the Actors Studio. So here we go. I'm going to ask you some random questions.
Sure.
And the first one is, what is your favorite word?
My favorite what?
Word.
Blessing.
Yeah, all my correspondence, I end with blessings. I like that one too. You're the first one, I think, that has said that word, though. Least favorite word?
No.
And I do hear that all the time. All the time for that one. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Studying the Bible is the thing that prompts me spiritually. If you don't mind, I'll tell you a quick story.
Sure.
After I came back from Iraq and been home for a while, my wife has an online friend that had retired from the 82nd Airborne. And he was telling her how he's going back to school at South Carolina and getting his master's degree and all this other. And she asked me, she said, well, don't you have some GI Bill? I said, no, I used it up after Vietnam. She said, well, you need to check into that. So I found out I did have some. So I applied to Baylor Truett Seminary, and they asked me, said, well, what do you want out of this? I said, I want to graduate before I turn 70.
Okay.
But I wanted to learn more about the Bible.
Yeah.
And so I went to
Truett.
Baylor.
Very good. What turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Selfishness. If somebody has a creative bent and all they want to do is talk about themselves and that creative bent, I don't suffer that kind of stuff very well.
Okay. What is your favorite sound?
Oh, I think it's music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love music.
Yeah. A particular genre, or do you just like any kind of music?
No, there's not any kind. I'm not into hard rock.
Okay, all
and
right.
Mostly all I listen to is Christian music.
Okay.
I lead the singing at my church.
Oh, there you go.
And so I like to learn new songs too.
Uh-huh.
But music is very soothing.
Oh yeah, no, it's
I like to hear you sing.
You're very sweet. You're kind. What is your least favorite sound?
Gunfire.
Oh, that an
Especially
empty
if I'm
keg
on-
falling on the
Especially if
ground.
I'm on the receiving. It's not so bad if it's going out. If it's on the receiving side.
Oh my
that's-
goodness. Yeah. Okay. So you knew pretty early on you wanted to go into military service, but was there another job or something you always wanted to try, or
Yes.
what?
My high school biology classmate was Malee Dickey. Malee Dickey and I wanted to be the first male-female astronaut team into space.
Okay. Want to be an astronaut?
And I applied for the Air Force Academy in order to pursue that, but I didn't get selected.
Okay. Okay, so what job do you know? I don't want to do that. No thanks.
Oh, my.
Let somebody else do it.
I'll preface with this. Any job that somebody does it with the right attitude, with the right purpose, and the right expectation, any job would be okay.
Right.
I used to shine shoes as a kid. I don't really want to shine shoes again.
Okay, all right. I got you. One last question then, Colonel. When you arrive at the pearly gates, what do you want to hear the Lord say to you?
Well done, my good and faithful servant.
Amen. 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 This has just been a delight for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
So much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your life and your journey. And again, we thank you for your service to this great nation.
I did it for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're all going to be crying out. Stay here. Stay with us. There's more of the show ahead.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
A big thank you to our sponsor, Fox & Co. Bakery. Check them out for delicious baked goods and your catering needs.
At Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, we're proud to be your premier destination in Waco for exceptional automotive service. Whether you're searching for a new vehicle, a quality pre-owned car, or dependable service and parts, our team is here to take care of you every step of the way. Visit Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, where great deals, friendly service, and your next ride are waiting. Come by, let's be friends.
I entered the service at age 18, right after my 18th birthday. At first, I went into the artillery, but I was inducted into Mineral Wells, Texas, in Camp Walters. And my first assignment was the 270th Field Artillery Battalion in Camp Butner, North Carolina. Our weapons was 105 millimeter howitzers. We went through all of the major steps in course in our training during that time. But at the end of our training, that period of training, I decided I wanted to go in the Air Force. So I took some tests in the physical there in Durham, North Carolina, and passed them, and entered into the Air Force. My first training was at Harlingen, Texas, where I was trained as an aerial gunner. And we did all type of training over shooting tow targets from our aircraft towed by another aircraft over the Gulf. And all the training that you would need, aircraft identification, and all the training we would need to be an aerial gunner in combat. After that, after we had graduated from aerial gunnery school, I was shipped out to Tonopah, Nevada, Tonopah Air Force Base, where our crew was formed that we would be flying in combat with. We did bombings there in northern Nevada, and we took all type training we would be involved in combat. After we had finished that training, we flew up to San Francisco and also Hammer Field in Fresno, California, where we were issued a new B-24. We flew from there to Amarillo, and then on up to Maine, the Azores, North Africa, and then Italy, where we were stationed, where we would be flying combat. And I was with the 451st Bomb Group, 726 Squadron, 15th Air Force, stationed in Italy. Our targets were to bomb primarily airfields, larger cities, and oil installation, which was very vital to Germany at that time because they have lost so many refineries. When you go on a mission, in order to assist in escaping, they give you 50 $100 bills in a plastic sealed container. I kept mine in a pocket on my flying suit to be used for the possibility of escaping or bribing somebody to help you get back to your home base. On August the 22nd, 1944, we were assigned to bomb an oil refinery in Vienna, Austria. So they told us where we would be bombing and what we could expect for his fighter, for his enemy fighters, what type of flak we could be expecting. So we took off, and then as we approached Budapest, Hungary, which was on our way to Vienna, we were attacked by 3 Me-109, our squadron was. Now, the Germans sent up a lot of fighters, and there was a lot of flak that day because of the fact of the target that they were suspicion that we were going to bomb. 3 planes in our squadron were shot down, plus planes from other squadrons and other groups. I was flying tail gunner that day, and of course when you're flying 25,000 feet, the temperature is about 40 or 50 below zero. So it was very cold. You had to wear heavy flying equipment. But as we were already in formation and approaching Budapest around Lake Balaton, I saw these 3 Me-109s come across behind our squadron and turn in right behind our plane. So as they was coming in, and we fired at them, 2 of them were shot down by firing from our squadron. The planes hit our number 2 engine. It exploded and started burning, and the heat was so intense that it burned the entire side of the plane off. You could look out through the ribs of the plane. The pilot and engineer burned to death in the plane. They could not get out. The co-pilot was severely burned but did manage to bail out. So we lost 3 of our 9-member crew that day. We were given orders to bail out, so I put on my chute, and one of the things I had nightmares occasionally over. The opening where we bailed out was at the bottom of the plane, and it was an opening about, I would say, about 5 foot by 5 foot. And of course, you got down as low as you could, holding your parachute, and rolled out, but I noticed that I had snapped my parachute on my harness, where I had to pull it with my left hand. Being right-handed, and I never had bailed out before, I said, well, I don't know whether I can do this or not. So I took the parachute off, turned around, standing over the opening. And if the plane had bounced a little bit, I would have dropped the parachute through the opening, and that would have been it. But fortunately, I did get the parachute changed. A friend of mine bailed out just before I did, and his chute didn't open. So when I got to him on the ground, I bailed out, and right after he did, and when I got to him on the ground, there was just a piece about the size of a handkerchief that had bounced out of his chute, I guess, when he hit the ground. So that's the 3 that we lost that day from our crew only. We were captured by the civilians. Civilians, of course, in these small, we were shot down near a small town in Hungary, and the civilians are a little more concerned about troops that have been shot down because of the fact that a lot of their families had been killed. So they wasn't very happy with us, and I recall being forced to the ground and roughed up a little, and but fortunately there was 2 farmers and a small boy working a haystack around where I bailed out and landed. These civilians, the younger civilians carrying these rifles, told me to take off, motioned for me to take off. But the 2 farmers stopped me, wouldn't let me go, and I feel that had I did leave, they would have maybe shot me for maybe trying to escape, using that excuse. But anyway, the 2 farmers hid my heavy flying clothes, my parachute, my shoulder holster. We had 45 pistols. We carried shoulder holsters. And then, fortunately, about that time, the German military drove up trucks, loaded us in it, took us into Budapest, and we were put in an old prison there. And we were assigned individual cells. We were only taken out. I was there about a week, and we were taken out for interrogation. After about a week, we were put on the troop train, and we were transported up to northern Germany, up to the Baltic. the prisoner of war camp that I was in was Stalag Luft 4. And this POW camp was divided into four sections, A, B, C, and D. And I was in section C. They had 9,000 prisoners in this camp. Food was in very short supply. Because this was pretty much close to the end of the war. This was in August 1944. Food was in very short supply, so the Germans had very little food, so you can imagine what type of food we got. A lot of potatoes, for instance. Occasionally we would get a parcel from the Red Cross, and that included what we call a D-bar, a chocolate candy bar, a package of cigarettes, which was used as barter in prison camps, which I traded mine for food, and you had what we call, we had a little can of what we call Klim milk, K-L-I-M, milk spelled backward. And you had a small can of some type of beef, I remember. And that was in the Red Cross parcels when they were available. In early February, the Russians were moving in from the east along the Baltic. The Germans, for some reason, didn't want our camp liberated. So we had a lot of people in our camp that had been injured, burned, and injured some way in being shot or bailed out when they were injured and so forth. So they had been moved. They moved them out to various hospitals and other camps. Those people who could not walk. So on February the 6th, 1945, we were marched out of the camp. Those who could march for 86 days. On the coldest winter on history, I think, in Germany. Snow knee deep. And we marched for 86 days, around 500 miles around the Baltic Sea, and then on down to southwest of Berlin. The Germans grew a lot of potatoes, and they would harvest their potatoes, and they would put them in rows, stacks about 2 foot high and about 10 or 15 foot long. They'd cover them with dirt. So we would go down and we would dig down through the dirt and pull out potatoes, and we'd build a fire and boil it. We'd eat the potatoes, and they issued us black bread. Their black bread, when they would bake it, they would cover the outside with sawdust to keep it from sticking together, I guess. But anyway, after you would scrape all that off, you had black bread and you had potatoes. And we had what they call ersatz coffee, which was, I don't know what they was made out of. It was a very strong type of coffee. We got that occasionally. And then we got what they refer to as kohlrabi. It's a large beet. Occasionally we would get that, cut it up, and boil it and have kohlrabi soup. So anything you could find on the farm to eat and steal, that's what we ate when we was on this march. I can recall we were approaching Swinemunde up on the Baltic. It's a submarine base for the Germans. And we were supposed to go into Swinemunde, but we couldn't because the British were bombing it. Now, the British didn't bomb like we did. We bombed as groups. A group is made up of 4 squadrons, 7 planes to each squadron. But the British bombed individually. They would have one plane come over and drop their bomb, another plane behind that would come in and drop their bomb. So the British were bombing Swinemunde that night, so we couldn't go in. So we slept on the ground, and the next morning the blanket was frozen to the ground. We had to just pull it off the frozen ground. So it was very cold in that entire trip. So from up on our trip when we were marching around the Baltic, we started south, and we started marching south, and they were trying to get us to another camp called Stalag 11B. That was an international camp made up of all type of Allied prisoners, Russian, Americans and British. People were dying in that camp almost every day. We'd see them pull them out, push them out in wheelbarrows, especially the Russians. Many of them died in camp. Now, in our group, out of Italy, there's a lot of diseases, malaria and so forth. And in the morning when we would get up, sleeping in the barn or on the ground, well, we'd have some of our people would be dead. We had to take them out and bury them. At one point during the march down to Stalag 11B, we were put on a boxcar. Now, the German boxcars were what we call 40-11, which means they will hold 40 troops or 8 horses. That was the way they're designed. So we were put in, 63 of us were put in this boxcar. When you sat down, you had to draw your knees up to your chest. A lot of the people in this box, and the doors were locked for 3 days without being opened, without food or water. A lot of our people had dysentery and malaria, and of course we were very ill. But we finally got off after the 3 days. We got off of the boxcar, and we were taken into Stalag 11B. We were there about a week. Then the Germans decided to march us back north. So we started marching north, and on May the 3rd, 1945, we woke up one morning with no guards to be seen. The British had moved in, so the British liberated us. So the British told us to report to a certain place where we would be put on a transport and taken into Le Havre, France, where we would go back to the United States. I recall one time we were riding in the back of a British truck, and the British pretty mean. Of course, our Americans were too in some cases, but they had a submachine gun, had a machine gun mounted on the back of this truck. The Russians wasn't aware that the war was over. The war didn't end until, of course, in officially May the 7th, 1945 in Europe. So here come a German on a motorcycle. This British guy leveled down with his machine gun, shot him off with a motorcycle. We just kept going. I don't know what happened to the German. We were finally taken to Le Havre, France. There were about 6 camps there. They're all named after cigarettes. Chesterfield, Old Gold. Of course, some of those cigarettes are not even in force now. But I was in Camp Lucky Strike. So we stayed in this camp about a week until the ship that we were going to be boarding to bring us back to the United States was brought into port. And so it took us about 10 days from Le Havre, France to Camp Shanks, New York. After we arrived at Camp Shanks, we were there only one night, and put on a troop train and taken down to San Antonio. We were only there one night, and I caught a train to my hometown in Electra, where I had a big group at the train station to meet me, fortunately. And then I was on furlough for 90 days, and I reported to Miami Beach again. And then I was assigned to Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas, as a service record clerk in headquarters, until I got enough points to get out. Now, at that time, after the war was over, you had to have so many, it was based on points. You had to have so many points in order to be discharged. So I worked there for about 6 months until I had enough points to get out of the service. This shield right here is the 15th Air Force. Of course, I was in the 15th Air Force. This is Stalag Luft 4. This was a patch that we could purchase when we got out of the service. This is Stalag 11B. This was the 2 prisoner of war camps I was in. This is the wings that were issued after we finished gunnery school. And this small looks like it's a caterpillar. Now we know that during World War II we didn't have nylon. We didn't have the materials that we have now that we make clothing out of. So all the parachutes were made out of made from caterpillar materials. And so anyone whose life was saved by bailing out with a parachute was eligible to join the Caterpillar Club. And that's what that pin represents there. This is a Purple Heart. This is the Air Medal. And this is just a World War II medal. This is American Campaign. This is the Good Conduct Medal, and which shows I was good in the service. And this is a POW medal. Of course, it's black and it has an eagle surrounded by barbed wire, which is, I guess, appropriate. And this is a picture of my plane, a B-24. I was in a B-24, 4-engine bomber. And as I pointed out, when I first went in, I went into the artillery, which was in the 2nd Army. So I was in the 2nd Army in the artillery before I entered the Air Force.